University of the Third Age. I'm speaking on behalf of them today rather than the BCS or the ISSG. Especially the Ilkley branch. The URLs are shown on there if you want to follow this up, and because although none of you are actually eligible for this, the U3As yet. It is the University of the Third Age. I'll continue to refer to it as U3As for the sake of it. Just want to emphasise that it's a body for retirees who want to keep their brains and indeed their bodies working. Now, there are only over 80 different courses available at the Ilkley branch. Computer courses have always been popular, more so since members have acquired those easy to carry around laptops. This presentation is based mainly on experiences with a laptop beginners group, also known as Surfing U3As. Some of the groups have been more challenging, but I must say it's always been enjoyable. But I'd like to talk about something different first of all. Some of you may remember the motorways in the 1970s. Very little happening, but rules are gradually being invented and imposed. We had to be told you can't stop on the hard shoulder of the M1 and have a picnic. Gosh, can't you? Fast forward to the M62 and look at the changes. What is particularly noticeable is a plethora of rules and regulations governing the highway and its users. And believe me, despite the congestion on the M62, it's actually much safer than many rural roads in North Yorkshire. It's also what's interesting, what's happened to cars in the same period. Anybody remember the Triumph Herald? Anybody have one? Yeah, there's a few, yeah. Great. Easy to maintain. Two screwdrivers and a spanner. Sorry, 2 spanners and a screwdriver, you could fix anything on it. But the only real safety feature was sticking a St Christopher's medal on the dashboard. My other example is an iX35 because I've recently bought one. This car has got more letters to its name than I have. Truly amazing safety features built in. Given the degree of automation, it's probably better to describe it as a computer on wheels. But I can't fix it. Lots of safety improvements to both cars and especially on the highway in 40 years. Here's some of them. The rules, guidance, physical safety features. They're all designed to protect me from other drivers and indeed to protect other drivers from me. Even the sat-nav. However, as we all know, total security is totally impossible. Despite legislation, policing, etc., it's still possible to be a complete idiot, especially with a sat-nav. So if you're bored and have 10 minutes to spare, just Google sat-nav mistakes. There is no limit to idiocy. Now back down memory lane, back to computers. Ever remember the original IBM PC? Remember getting your hands on it? Oh, wow. That was wonderful, that. Easy to crash and to fix, because you could take the top off and screwdriver, you could fix anything. But the rules for personal computers are being developed. Remember, you had to be told it's not a telex. Capital letters are equivalent of shouting. We wouldn't do that now. Now we have the latest Windows laptop. Yes, that's Windows 8. Incredibly complex, impossible to fix. Try taking the top off. And there's a raft of complicated rules to its use. However, I'd question whether security has really improved for the personal user. When ICL coined that slogan, we should be talking to each other, it was all about linking computers within the office. Now we have the information superhighway. And hasn't technology improved? There's acoustic couplers. We had to type in the baud rate for all the rest of it. All those text files. Now it's all done for you. So easy. However, the people I'm talking to here are, I suspect, all working within a corporate environment. You have dedicated staff to construct and police your networks. The home user is relying on default setup unless he or she is confident they know what they're doing. Security for the home user is more complex. Where are the motorway police? The clear road signs? And can I have a sat-nav for the internet? No? Oh dear, I'm on my own. Home users face a dilemma. Certain high street enterprises, I can't name names, ask me after, they claim that the internet is risk-free and so easy to use. On the other hand, TV, tabloids, they like to portray it as shark-filled sea and they're all waiting to get you. For the home user, which one is right? Excuse me. Perception is crucial in forming opinions on anything. With home computer users, opinions can be formed from these sources. Familiar with the up to problem? If the figures are between 100 and 1,000, what goes in headlines? It's 1,000. Scourge of cybercrime, says the Daily Mail. A fifth of Brits have had their email, etc. So in this room, there must be about 20 of you who have had your emails or your bank account or your social network hacked. Hands up if you have. 1, 2. So, well, nowhere near 20%. Okay. You get my point. Whatever goes, particularly for Daily Mail, the estimate's up there. Scare stories. Identity theft to millions. And in this case, it's the government that's at the fault, according to the Daily Express. It's easy to blame the government. It's a scare story. It hasn't happened. But the readers of the Daily Express are invited to believe it's going to happen. And it probably happened to you. We have targeted problems. One of my current laptop group was actually asking me about this only last week and was saying, well, I'm keeping getting these messages coming up and again. Your computer's at risk, it needs clearing up. Just give us $24.99, whatever the figure was, and we'll clean up your computer. So what have you been doing? Well, he wasn't sure, he couldn't tell me. But once we'd gone through blocking pop-ups on his browser, most of these messages disappeared. Spurious messages, but he's being targeted with it. Unsure of where to go for help. Daughter asked me the other week, I've got this error on my printer's code B200. What was it? 73,000 results on Google about the error B200 on the Canon. I have no clue which one's right. I might end up taking it to a shop. And the thing I particularly hate, so I know around LS29, the Ilkley area, there are a couple of guys who purport to be technicians supporting the home and small business user. I wouldn't trust them to fix a bicycle. How do you rate the competence of support? So I've now got a group of seniors who are thoroughly confused. Now, you've heard of the Luddites at the start of the Industrial Revolution, haven't you? Do you know there's a new Luddite movement? Anybody want to join? A leader of this movement and passive resistance to consumerism and the increasingly bizarre and frightening technologies of the computer age. I've got a feeling a few of you might be able to buy into this. I know a lot of senior citizens could do. The important words are bizarre and frightening. Is it wonder the senior citizen is not sure what to do with it? Now, just to prove for the benefit of Swindon that I do read IT now, here's a snippet from the latest edition. Rather neatly sums up the problem. It might look cool to a 30-something from Seattle, but it doesn't necessarily look cool to a 60-something from Ilkley, or indeed any other 60-something. But that's all by way of an introduction. These are the main concerns of my students. Let's go through them in more detail. Keyboard. Let's start with I always start with a keyboard. I have to actually show people what is on the keyboard. Why are there 4 shift keys? And what are those funny blue key things at the top? What do they actually do? And I have lots of problems with the accidental use of control codes. One puzzle I was asked, my email keeps disappearing. Well, I'm typing away and it just goes. Took some while to realise that if you've noticed a lot of software, if you do Control N rather than Shift N, you get a new page, which is actually what she was doing on her email. Once you suss that out, okay, no problems. And seniors don't understand updates. My car is checked by a mechanic once a year, and if necessary, updates the car's computer. Why do I have to update different bits of my computer every week? That takes a lot of time. And which of these snake oil merchants, software companies, can I actually trust? Will I be at risk if I don't do it? Those of us who have been using email since it was invented, it may seem strange that users have trouble with it. Simple actions are often complex because of the way in which email packages are constructed. Attachments can prove difficult to read and to save. And why do I have to delete everything twice? One early point I make to the laptop group is this is a language class. I need to teach people to geek speak so they can understand help screens, instructions on packages, and not to be bamboozled by those nice high street salesmen. The majority of my students do not and will not do e-commerce under any circumstances. They don't trust banks. No surprise there. And I have to note in parenthesis that there aren't any representatives of the banking community here today. Shame. They ought to be here. My students will have heard or read too many of these horror stories about people being ripped off. They know that something nasty happens, they can't turn to the police. There's no use going to Ilkley police station. They'll be told to go back to the bank or credit card company. Will that work? Often I'm told something along the lines of, when I go into the bank, I meet somebody I know behind the counter. A personal ID is still important for an awful lot of people. Here's a bright idea. Pity the banks aren't here. Instead of banks telling people it's so easy to go online banking, why don't they give 1-hour courses on a Saturday morning to their customers to show them how it actually works and how safe it can be if they do it properly? To say passwords is a problem is to put it mildly. Why is there no standard system for passwords? Why do I need so many? And one thing is very useful for education purposes. Google and others publish lists of the most popular passwords in the world. And usually password is at the top. And you get the 20 most used passwords, and they're so blindingly obvious you think, why does anybody use them? But it's very useful for novices to say, look, it's so easy to guess these. Don't use them. Why do I need separate security settings for each piece of software with browsers and Skype, for example? My car comes with built-in security. It's standard, it lasts forever. Why do I face unexpected charges for computer security 3-6 months after I bought the thing? Do I have to buy it again? Oh, and you can get free antivirus software. Oh, that's good. What does it do? And this is something we need to talk about, especially in relation to the internet. Now, I actually gather that government has recently announced it's going to have a new scheme where it's kind of a single sign-on for government services. Conventional password with a user ID, and your user ID will be your email account name. But you'll have yet another password to get in there. My computer, called a car, has this thing with it. This is effectively my password to get into my car. I just go, plink. I can get in it and start the engine. I've been using tokens when I was working for actually ages. They're simple to use, they're really easy. Come on, someone in central government, please come up with a simple solution like this. You can start giving it to pensioners when they retire. Look, here's your plinker. All you have to do, fire it in the computer and it will give your digital ID to the government. Yeah, but the ID cards got so complicated it was impossible to. Yeah. Now, breaking it. This is a real phobia for many people. Laptops seem so fragile, and so does the software on it. I find it used to take half an hour on this topic to convince students that if they're just careful, everything will be fine. They also need to be shown how to recover from the notorious blue screen of death. Yes, it's still available on Windows 8. Oh, it's also, when you're talking about security, remind me of other little things like don't get plastered and then start bidding on it on eBay. And eBay, just in parenthesis, is actually quite favoured by a lot of senior citizens because it's a way of clearing out the house when you're downsizing. Now, curiously, you may be surprised to know that backups and things are not the first problem in the mind for most senior citizens. If you only do email, mostly web-based, and some internet searches, and you do the odd disgusted of Ilkley to the local paper letter, why do backups? In reality, it's only when users start storing photos on their laptops that backups become a bit of a priority, especially when you get photos of the grandchildren. So the CD-DVD route is preferable, but you have to give some consideration to external hard disks, but only if it's the one-touch solution. Simplicity is all. Now, it's two interesting concepts for you. Thanks to Peter Wood for the first one. First defence to cybersecurity is a human firewall. Remember that a human can subvert any system through stupidity. If they can, they will. So the human is the first line of defence, not the last. Second is what I term controlled paranoia. As a human, you have trust as a default position. And as you grow up, you learn the limits of trust about people, about crossing the road, about school, work, etc. The basic message is, yes, there are people out there trying to get you, but actually there's not many of them, and if you take reasonable precautions, human and technical, you don't need to worry. If the degree of paranoia needs boundaries, where does the senior citizen get their information from? I list these in order of importance or mischief, depending on your point of view. I've pointed out already the problems of interpretation of public facts. The red tops like to form public opinion, not reflect it. And for the Get Safe Online campaign, I'm sorry it's at the bottom. I recommend it to all my students. I've always done so. I don't think they tend to go back to it after I've shown them the URL and shown them what's on it. Hopefully, with the new software, with a new presentation, it might work. But one thing on there is word of mouth. Let's just concentrate on that one for a bit. One thing I do when we talk about email is to show them this nice sanitized snapshot from my own email system. I keep these things. It's not enough to say don't touch emails from banks, they're probably forgeries and whatever. You have to show people the extent of the problem, and here it is in glorious black and white. I've got most UK banks on this one. I've been blessed by Mother Kendra. I've got a wonderful offer, it's not actually on this particular one, from Amazon offering me some cheap goods, but as you delve into it, it's actually Amazon Russia, which brings me into country codes. Are you, it's Russia. Did you actually mean to buy something from Russia? No. Make an excuse and leave. It's the old News of the World excuse, wasn't it? Our reporter made an excuse and left. What's the country code CA? Is that California or is it China? You need to know. Have a list of it. But word of mouth. You see about 3/4 of the way down on the left-hand side, you can just see it. It says sad news from Dawn Spear. It's actually on that line. Dawn is a very prominent member of ILCA U3A, so in fact one of the founders of it. Interesting email, you'll never guess what. She was in Nigeria. She's been robbed. Oops. Hang on. Oh, go away. She'd been robbed blind. Please send me some money so I can go home. Fortunately, we're able to get an email out to all, I think about 800 odd email addresses. If you got this, just ignore it, it's a scam. The message got round. The only person who replied to this was unfortunately one of her granddaughters, who realised in the reply she got from Nigeria that it couldn't possibly be her granny. But I've now got something I can show to all our U3A members. You know Dawn, and I can relate the tale. This is what happened to Dawn's email. Don't let it happen to you. It's very practical, and it happened to someone you know. It wasn't in the Daily Mail, it wasn't in the Express, it wasn't on breakfast. So it's very useful to have these little examples. Now, I'm sort of with that nice Mr. Grove when it comes to exams. They are important, not just because of a pass mark, but they can actually show the candidate what they don't know. So always provide a humorous exam at the end of the course. Very useful. It's help out. Also provide them with a certificate. It's well worth remembering that many people of this age group left school at 15 without a certificate of anything. They might have gained something later, but not. But interesting enough, was it going back 3 years, one of my graduates, if you like, she graduated from university late 50s, early 60s in humanities, but never looked at computers. She got a certificate. She actually pinned it on the wall next to her computer at home. When her grandson came round the next time, she gently pushed him towards the certificate, pointed it out and said, "Now, don't tell me I don't know what I'm talking about anymore." Now, it's also important to point out what these courses do not do. I don't teach technology. I don't deal with the depth of Microsoft Windows. I don't tell them how to use Microsoft Office, and I can't possibly cover every piece of software available to them. So, what can I do? This is the unspoken objective of these courses. Confidence is needed to deal with junk email, to safely surf the internet, to handle upgrades and handle the inevitable software hang-ups. If the senior citizen is confident of their ability to handle a laptop in all circumstances, they will, in my opinion, be a safer cyber citizen. And through the course of this, I refer to them as senior cyber citizens. I had an interesting email correspondence with Elizabeth when the plans for this coming up, and she was referring to silver surfers. When you're dealing with my age range, We're all very conscious of how the 20 and 30-somethings can be patronising. And quite a few of my students have objected to Silver Surfer because it sounds patronising. No, I'm a retiree or I'm a senior citizen, and I don't mind being called a senior cyber citizen, but please don't patronise me. But I've got an addendum to all this, which is quite interesting. Last 18 months or so I've been asked, can you do anything about iPads? Well, I haven't got one, so I can't. So an email was sent out to members, September. Anybody interested in an iPad course? 136 people said yes. So the branch went out and spent £5,000 on iPads. It's all right, we're in Yorkshire, they got a discount. Set up courses for up to 12 participants for 10 weeks and targeted homework for each one of the 10 weeks. At the end of the 10 weeks, the iPads are handed back and each course participant can decide whether to buy one or not. Now, unfortunately, I'm waiting for the first official report to come out of this experiment, but at the moment it's looking like roughly 60 to 70%. I was going to say they're going to buy one. They were advised to wait to the January sales. We're talking Yorkshire again. So, it looks like my Windows laptop courses might be becoming redundant with the inexorable rise of the iPad. I'm not sure. We'll see.